Hey guys, Stumpy here. So this is my GitHub tutorial video. It's just going to cover the real basics, and I'm still fairly new to this, so I'll probably get a few things that aren't the best way of doing it, but it will at least get you started. So what are we going to cover? How to create a GitHub account. There's a few guides available on GitHub. Where to get the desktop client and what it can do for you. Creating a repo in the desktop client, and then syncing and publishing to the online github.com, collaborators and how they work on your repositories, the git ignore file, branches, which are essentially alternative versions of a repository, committing your changes, spell, essentially saving changes, forking, which means creating a clone of someone's repo, which allows you to work on it locally, pull requests, which is how you send your local changes back to the original repo, and merging, which is how you integrate changes. And yes, I just told Valmar that I forgot to record on my first attempt to do this video, so he's making fun of me now. Alright, so GitHub account, go to github.com and just hit sign up. So your username is what will be used to provide the URL to all of your repos. Make it something that you are comfortable sharing with other people. That will essentially be your online identity for GitHub. Under the terms of service, note, especially number 7, you're only supposed to have one personal legal entity to have a free account, so keep that in mind, that technically you're not supposed to have more than one account. The plans, so the free version of GitHub is unlimited in public repositories. If you want to have private repositories that you can choose to invite just certain people to, then you need to pay a monthly fee. I think the cheapest one's about $7 a month. But yeah, if you're open sourcing all of your code, then you're unlimited as to how many you can use. So I've just opened Firefox so you don't see all my private data, and so when you first log in, you'll see this page, which reading the guide is probably a good place to start if this video hasn't covered enough for you, which just covers the essentials which I'm about to go through. So this is mostly talking about doing it through the web interface. I'm going to focus more on the desktop client, which you can get from desktop.github.com, and just download that, which is the little cat face icon here. Alright, so guides, desktop client, so let's load this client up. Alright, so as you can see, I've already added some repos in. And this is my Steam folder, so I've got a repo set up in a couple of different ones. Actually, I'll just reset that. So this is a vanilla copy. I've just basically copied the main folder. You can actually set up your repo in the Steam install folder for 7 Days to Die as well, and that would be a way of tracking whenever they do an alpha update what changes they've made. But for modding, obviously, it's probably better to create a copy of your folder and work out of that one. Actually, that wasn't supposed to be there. Right, so this is a purely vanilla copy of 7 Days to Die, and with this little plus button, you can add it into the desktop client. There's also command lines that you can use to do all of this stuff, but the client is a easier way for people that are new to it to get your head around it. So when you click on that, it goes to the create tab by default, but because 7 Days to Die uses spaces in its names, that's going to cause a few issues when we try to do it that way. So the workaround I've found for the desktop client is to use the add repo, which is normally used to add an existing repo, but I'll show you a little trick. So it's going to tell us that it's not a Git repository, but we want to create a repository here, and that automatically puts the correct path and such into the thing here, which gets around the fact that we can't normally put spaces in the repo name. Not entirely sure if that's necessary, but that's what I end up doing anyway. So by default it creates Git attributes, which I'm not actually sure what it does, haven't really looked at it, and the git ignore file, which by default ignores certain things like system files and stuff that you wouldn't really want to push up to a repo. And if you look on the changes tab, it shows you well, because we don't have anything in our git ignore to do with these files, it shows us the entire contents, which is 1,000 files, or 1,050. Obviously we don't want to be sending things like the exe and assets files up, they'll be too big and will probably cause the commit to fail anyway. So what we do is, I'll just grab this one that I've already made for Medieval. So the git ignore file, first I put in /star, which means basically ignore absolutely every file in that folder, and then when we use the exclamation mark to say don't ignore what's following, which is the data folder, make sure you have the leading slash. But then in the data folder we don't want the bundles or worlds, although you might want worlds if you're messing around with Navigaine. And then obviously we don't want to exclude the mods folder, so we are allowing the data and mods folders to be included in our repo automatically. And then under data prefabs we don't want to include the TTS files, so I've just manually added all those in as well. So if we take that one, which you can find in my repo if you wanted a copy of it, and paste that into here, and go back to the client, we'll see that it's processing that git ignore. Keep in mind that if you change the git ignore after you've committed files, that won't remove them from your repo, so do that before you make your first commit. And now we're only doing 388 files. So the little icons here, that means that it's an existing file but it has changed. The plus means it's a new file, and if we'd deleted something it would have a little minus. And once we're happy with that, so this is a vanilla copy, so I like to start with the vanilla version of 7 Days to Die as my first commit, and I just put alpha, whichever version it is, vanilla as my commit comment. You're limited to I think 50 characters in this part, so if you've got quite a bit to say, just put a little tag there and put the rest into the description. And once we hit commit, that will push everything into the repo. Now this is only dealing with your local copy at this stage. Once this commit is done, we can hit the publish button and send it up to github.com for public access. And the timeline here, the different dots show the different commits along the way. So if there's say 10 commits, you'd have 10 dots, and you can click on the dots to see the different states of the repo along the way. Or under the history you got this bit here as well, which is the same thing. So as you can see under here, it has a diff file display, which the red means it's been removed, the green means it's been added. As far as I know, it just does it on a per line basis, and is a good way of being able to see what's changed in a file. So it's 388 files, so that's all of them listed in there, and obviously most of them have just been added, so if you look at those, it would just show green across the whole file. You can also hit the revert button if you wanted to undo a commit. But once you're happy with the state of your local one, if you wanted to make it accessible to public, you hit the publish button. If you just wanted to keep it to yourself while you're working on it, then obviously you don't want to publish it. But if you wanted to involve other people in working on your code or make it available for download, then publishing it is probably the best thing to do. So obviously I can't select private repo because I don't have a paid for plan, but actually I might have already done that on my first attempt, so I'll just check that I haven't. I do, so I'll just show you quickly how to delete. So the settings tab under a repo, right at the bottom is the danger zone, and you can delete a repo, so you got to type in the exact name of the repo to confirm that you want to delete it, or just select it and copy and paste, and that nukes it off your list, so it's no longer there. Obviously if you commit something and you make a complete mess up of it, you can use that as a way of killing your repo and starting again. Right, so now when we hit publish, that will take a little while. Well, not long because I'm on really fast fiber, but in fact it's already done. And there you go, I'm now published and hosting those files, which people can come and download as a zip or open it in their desktop. We'll cover that in a second. So if we go back here, create a folder, mods. Now it won't by default include just folders in the changes. It's actually got to have a file in there, even if it's a 0 size file. But as soon as we add the file in, it will include those so instead of publish, it now says sync, which means that it will synchronize the local changes with the repo. And if we also made changes on the online version at the same time, by default it will take it as create readme, but you can overwrite that if you want. So you can commit directly to the master branch or create a new branch from this commit and start a new and start a pull request. So what that means is it will create a alternative copy of your code, which is known as a branch, and allow you to make your changes there without affecting your main or what's called a master version of your repo. And it's a good way of testing out new features or making changes and not having them affect the main download. So if we just commit that file, we'll see that we've now got 3 commits. The first one was adding those files, then adding the vanilla files, and then finally that. But if we look at this one, it's different. So when we hit sync, what it will do is push this one up to the online and pull the online one back down to the local copy. And done. So I'm going to update. Been a bit strange, didn't want to update, but there you go. So let's grab the change off the online one and pushed my local changes back up as well. So now if we go back to the code, you can see that it's added the mods demo folder, which has the mod info XML file, and it's got the readme, which if we look at the this, we can see we now have the readme file there. So basically you can work from both sides and update on your local version and the online version. If other people make changes on the online version, that's how you download them back to your local machine, if this is your repo. Right, so done that. Collaborators. So under the settings tab is the collaborators and a bunch of other options. Obviously you saw deleting, you can transfer it to someone else. If you had a paid for plan, you can make it private. Bunch of things, I'm not sure what they do. The wiki is essentially a sub website that you can add to your repo, which you can use as a way of providing documentation for it or whatever you want. Issues is like a little sub forum where you can create topics and report bugs, feature requests, all that sort of stuff. So the collaborators, you can use as a way to add extra people in. So what this means is they can have write access to your repo. If they're not a collaborator, they can still do a fork and submit pull requests, but only to collaborators, and repo owner can commit those changes to the branch. And yeah, on the medieval Valmar's a collaborator. I wasn't looking. Settings, collaborators, so you can delete them if you wanted as well. What next? So git ignore we've already covered. Branches we've touched on a little bit. So if you had multiple branches, it would show up in here, as well as actually if I look at, where is it, that one, that's got a branch. So when I forked this, it effectively created a branch in my own account separate from Velmar's one. So if Velmar made a change to his mod, it would report to me that there's a change in the master mod, and I can choose to incorporate those into my branch. But the main thing is when you where am I looking? If I go to Velmar, I can see the overhaul mod here. So he's just created a readme file as his initial commit as a test, and if you looked at my version of it, I've actually added in the mod code, so version 3.26, and I submitted that back to Valmar as a pull request, which now shows up as a pull request here. So once Val works out how to do it, he can go through here and either close it if he doesn't want to include it, or commit it to the mod. Yeah, and as you can see, only those with write access can merge a pull request. So how do you go about forking a mod? What I'll do is find Clockwork Orange. So by default it searches for repositories. Under users we can see is Clockwork, and if we go to his XML fixes, we can just check that I hadn't already done that. I have. So we'll just go on and delete that for the moment, so I can show you how it works. So that's gone from my one now, and that was my fork, so if I refresh that should show now 0. So you've got a few different options. You can hit the fork button, which will straight away put it onto my account, or I can open it in the desktop client, which is another way you can do it. So if I hit the fork, you'll see that it's now stompynz/7days.unofficial XML fixes, and now I can work on that locally. Actually, what version did he have? Where am I going? So under here you can see it's forked from Clockworks mod, and you can use that to get back to the original one. So I'll just put that into here. If it copies, what did it say, 3.14. By default it will say create readme.md is the, or create, and then the file name is the commit tag, which is fine for this bit. And now that we've done that, our local copy has been updated, but Clockworks one has not. So how do we get back to Clockwork? It's by using the pull request, and this is the branch that it's going to, this is the branch that it's coming from. So our one going to Clockworks, and it says here it's able to merge, which means there's no conflicts. If I'd created this README file at the same time as, or rather if I'd forked it and then created this README file and then Clockwork had also created the README file, it would report a conflict here which needs to be resolved before you can merge those requests in. And if I hit create pull requests, it gives you the ability to put some comments and that sort of thing into there. And that would, no, I won't do it now because it's just a demo, but yeah, that would let me submit this back to Clockwork, and then he could choose to incorporate it into his mod. Where's my one? So if we look at Medieval, we've got myself, Velma, and Tog Foxy working on it at the moment. So the collaborators, the collaborators page shows you everyone that's made contributions to it. Under the pull requests, no, nothing's open at the moment, so we'll go to the closed ones. So the purple ones have been merged, the red ones have been cancelled or closed without merging. And you can go into those and view the commits that Foxy made as he was editing it, and you can also see the files that have been changed and what's been changed in them. So you can see that he's added in a few different recipes here. And then if you're happy with the changes that someone's submitting, then you just simply merge them back into your master branch or another branch if you prefer. And that is how you can collaborate on code. So like for example in Medieval, someone might want to upload some files, so another prefab that they've made, and then once they've uploaded those files into their local copy, they do the pull request to submit that to the to my version of it. And anyone that is forked off my version will get a notification that this master has changed, and they can choose to incorporate those changes into their own copies, which is a good way of distributing your code automatically to lots of people. I think that pretty much covers it all. So if you have any questions, post a comment on the video or on the forums, and hit the like button if it helps you out. I'll talk to you later.